Hello everyone. This week's theme is omniscience, and I want to record my thoughts about it before I get any input or knowledge about it, because I thought it's defeating the purpose if I make a video from knowledge rather than from knowingness when it's about omniscience. The quality of knowing everything. I find it very interesting that it's really, that at the root of this word there's science, when you read it anyway. Science is investigating, wanting to know, wanting to understand. It has to do with logic, with reason, with the reason-effect, two-dimensional or three-dimensional kind of thinking. I discovered my knowingness a few years ago when I was in the process of an intense spiritual quest. I wanted to be enlightened, and whatever that meant, I was on that path, and I worked on dissolving the illusions one after another and another. And I studied the works of a spiritual teacher, and again I moved into this idea that he would know what I needed, or he would have the answers for my questions. And then I traveled to Sedona, which is quite a far trip from Germany or Spain in that moment, because I wanted to see him. And I went to this event, and there was an option of going onto stage and asking questions. So I went up there, standing in the line, and I couldn't choose between 3 different questions that I had. And then it was my turn, and I sat there, and I went silent. I had nothing to ask. I didn't have a verbal answer for my question, but the question disappeared in the presence of this person, and we were just looking at each other, and it was beautiful. And he spoke in his teachings about knowingness, and that every bit of information, everything, anything that ever happened is energetically contained in consciousness. So it's like a huge library of everything in the past, in the present, in the future, stored, all that information, and it's accessible whenever it needs to be accessed. I struggled with this idea because I still believed that I needed to learn and get information and understand in order to let go. But this experience with him of the questions disappearing and his teaching let me explore the idea of all the information, everything being accessible within who I am. And so I turned into, well, I got this habit of just meditating, sitting and assuming. I just assumed all the answers are within me. And I sat, I closed my eyes, I breathed, and I just waited and observed. And I realized that whenever I did that, an answer came to me. I found an answer which was calm and peaceful and somehow completed the question I had before and led me into peace. And so this for me is what omniscience means, that in different ways we can access this ever-present information. And sometimes, or most of the time, we have to understand the language. In our case of reconnective healing, we have to allow ourselves to really hear and perceive and receive that information. And when we put our mode on receiving, something comes up, and many times it's something that we know instinctually, at least for me. It's not always a verbal answer. Sometimes it is, but it is a shift, a completion that I experience. And this can be sometimes even without meditation, you know, you go through your day and you get a hunch. Oh, I think of a person, and I think, oh, this person isn't doing so good. And I call them and they really aren't doing so good. How did I know that? It's because this information is in the field and I was open to receiving it. I'm really curious about your take about this and about what I learned this week. But I just, even now, it just makes me so calm. There's so much peace in this discovery that there's nothing outside of me that I have to attain. I actually stopped reading so much, and sometimes I still read because my instinct just brings it up, but it's different. It's not a quest of filling in information and accumulating information because it's not accessible in a different way. It's more of a process of riding a wave. When something gets energized and is exciting to me, then I read. Those are my thoughts I'm really curious about this week. I'm sending you a big hug, and bye for now.